Hey, this is Tom Jacobs from tdjacobs.com. I'm an evolutionary astrologer and an energy worker and a channel. And this video is for the programmed or featured programmed crystals for Taurus 2018, which is a solar month we're currently in. And it's a hematite, which is for deep grounding and pulling energy to the root chakra, and also Larimar, which is for focusing on the truth and realizing if a belief is installed as truth that needs to be upgraded. I'm going to explain more about these crystals and how they're energetically programmed and what that means, and how to use them to make the most of the opportunity of the solar month of Taurus. So when I do a featured crystal, I do a video. I like to do sometimes like a channeled meditation or something like that to help focus on the themes. Do a blog post or two just to put some teachings out there about them. So that's kind of what the featured thing is about. And I pick them based in something about the solar month that I want to teach. So, for example, when we were just in the solar month of Aries, I used red jasper, and that's a good second chakra stone for boundaries, for healing abuse issues, for owning our power to say yes and no. And that fits with the Aries invitation of owning our fire, being instinctive, being fully in our bodies. And then I did a channel meditation, which was clearing sexual debris. So kind of like trying to do this thing. I don't do it every month. This way. I don't do a feature crystal every month, but I try to do some throughout the year. So first of all, when we're in Aries, things are moving quickly, and we need to be inspired. We need to be in our bodies and trust our gut instinct, and we need to act. We need to begin new things. Well, we need to trust ourselves, but it's all instinct. It's body-based. It's instinct, inspiration, fire, reflex, instinct. When we get into Taurus, we have to slow down in order to focus on what is essential. So in Aries, we're just feeling the fire, and we're just, announcing our existence. In Taurus, we evaluate what we have to do in order to survive. So Aries is this recognition, this feeling that we're alive, and then Taurus is this need to slow down and survey what's going on and focus on the tools and resources that we need to continue what we're doing or to survive. So in Taurus, we slow down. So I always recommend getting grounded. But one of these crystals for this month is hematite, which is basically iron. And I have two versions of it right now in 4 different shapes or formats. I'm staying in a hotel right now because of damage to our house, and so I don't have the slabs with me. But you can see on my website, excuse me, the slabs, which are these polished on one side, these little slabs. They're slabs, and those are good for holding, for being in pockets. I also have spheres. Right now I have my 2 spheres with me, and in the coming week or so I'll have more spheres up on my site. And then I'll also have massage wands, and all 3 of those are this form where you see these kind of brown inclusions. It's iron, it's hematite, but you also see that other stuff in there. And this is natural hematite. This comes from Madagascar, and this is natural hematite. So when you see those perfect shapes that are gunmetal gray and they're magnetic, those are this kind of material that have been pulverized into powder. Glue has been added, and then they've been put in molds or shapes to make those. I hate those. I never connected with those, and I was always confused by that because hematite is one of the constituent minerals in tiger iron, which I always connect with. And then I learned this a couple of years ago and was amazed because when I found these, I wanted to fill a room with them and roll around in them. I couldn't stop staring at them. It's like this magical. If you've ever seen the movie Dune, this is like the Harkonnen homeworld a little bit. It's a little dark, and that has fire in it. So it's but I just was staring at it like this hypnotic thing that was pulling me in because I needed so much that pure grounding energy. So those 3 shapes are this material where they have these brown spots and these inclusions. Let me just look around here. Yeah, you can see a little bit more where it's not just iron, it's also stone in there. And then the 4th thing I have, which is on my website, is straight up iron mined from the Yuma Arizona area, which I picked up in a crystal shop recently. And it's actually denser than this stuff because it doesn't have that rock matrix with it. It's just actual iron. So they're like lumpy little things anyway, so those are denser. And so like ounce for ounce, those are a little more grounding and intense. So anyway, you can check those out at my site. And like I said, today's April 21st. Figure by April 28th, there'll be massage wands and also spheres up on the site with the slabs and those little pieces from Yuma. So hematite, iron, relates to the root chakra. The way these are energetically programmed will pull energy down to your root. When I first started working with these, around the time of wanting to put them in a room and roll around in them, around that time, when I started using them, at first I couldn't speak when I was holding them. I wasn't thinking. I wasn't planning or plotting. You know, my third house Sagittarius moon with Mercury in the second wasn't doing anything. And it kind of stopped me in my tracks, and it was blissful. And I was aware that I'm not often like that. And it kind of takes a lot for me much. So as an earth sign on a ground, we want to slow down. We want to pull energy down. That takes us out of our head. So therefore anxiety and worry and the beginnings of or full-on panic can be helped by using a grounding stone, especially the way these are programmed, like hematite. So after a while, I wanted to use them. So I would use them a couple times a week just to get in that state and just watch myself not do or think anything. It was kind of magical because it's so not my norm. My mind is always going and I'm always producing and working or resting, but often very much on. After a while, when it was time to do a channeled lunation meditation, so Ascended Master Jehudi speaks through me, teaches my subscribers about the themes of a new or full moon. And if you're interested in that, you can check out my subscription service through tdjacobs.com. Talks about the themes and takes them on a kind of a guided meditation to make certain decisions that are empowering related to the themes of that lunation. And I started holding the hematite, and then channeling. And so everything got deeper. My voice was deeper. I was more in my body, more intentional. So now I use them all the time when I'm channeling, and even sometimes when I'm doing energy work, because the more grounded we are, the better. So after being speechless or nonverbal, I learned how to talk while holding them. And my channeling has become clearer since then, because in order to do good work up here, we have to be super grounded. And the hematite have really helped me get more grounded than even I was before I started using them last year. So that's the hematite. Like I said, there are 2 forms on my site right now, 2 shapes, 2 forms, and soon there will be 4. Okay. How this fits with Taurus is when you have to look at what to survive or proceed and have stability, you have to be grounded. It can't be an endless checklist from your mind that may have a bunch of extraneous ideas on it, or vanity projects, or egoic stroking. It has to be focused on the details, the facts of what one needs to survive. So by pulling energy down with the hematite, you can focus on that. You can be extremely clear-headed about what matters to you, and that's kind of a vibe that goes with Taurus, a process that goes with Taurus. You know, if survival is the issue, you need to line things up, and you can't have a lot of extraneous garbage. You can't afford not to focus on the details, but you can't handle 400 details. You need to focus on these 4 details, these 10 details, some small manageable amount that are essential. So when you train if maybe you pick up the hematite and it feels great, maybe you become nonverbal, but after a while you can get accustomed to thinking while holding the hematite and being productive and being intentional. You're real clear. And think about, I used to cook for a living, and there's this thing you're taught, which is called mise en place, which is French for kind of organizing things. It's a paraphrase. Don't write me and say it actually means it. But anyway, putting things in the right order. The way it was described to me was get your shit straight, or put the shit in the right order. That's how it was described to me in the kitchen. But the idea is, and you've seen people, if you haven't cooked, you've seen people like putting sandwiches together somewhere, and over on this side are this types of ingredients based in the menu, there's sort of an overlap, and maybe you use, this ingredient in these 3 sandwiches, and so those things are all together. You intentionally plan how things are set up. That's Taurus. That's Taurus. And so the more grounded you are, the more intentional that you can be. So Taurus, people who have a strong Taurus emphasis in their personality, their makeup, may get a bad rap for being stubborn. But the thing is, when you realize what matters to you, because it supports survival in some way, or clarity and organization and clarity support survival, you're going to stick to it. So when you pick a position, and it's a fixed sign, of course, when you pick a position, you stick with it. When you find what works for you, you do it, you stick with it. In that way, you focus on the details to make sure your foundation is in order. And so the hematite can help you get out of the distracting, extraneous stuff, and the distractions and the fear and the anxiety and the worry and the what ifs that your linear logical mind is designed to offer you. A lot of times getting grounded means letting the mind surrender to serve the whole being. Letting your mind surrender to serve spirit, heart, body. And so getting out of the mind sometimes is the only way you could be efficient and have your mind surrender. So anyway, the hematite is a really good tool for that. I said I'd talk about how I program it. I don't always do that, but I will now. What I do is, this is true of all the stones in different ways, all the like 15 or so crystals I work with and offer. What I do is I change my energy field. I adjust my frequency. I change my consciousness to certain levels. And then I hold stones, and like in this size, I would hold like, 5 or something, in my hands. All the program stones that I offer have been held by me in small groups with skin contact, pushing energy in through force of will, which is just an energy work technique that I've learned to do. I'm somebody who has a big energy field, a lot of energy that I give off. And it's been really important for me to learn how to manage it over the years. And I'm still learning certain things. But one of the benefits of learning to better manage my energy is that I can direct it. I can change my frequency and I can force it in. So I would hold these stones, and basically until I get a feedback frequency that the stone is, quote, full, meaning I would get a little overwhelmed, or I would start to get a headache because the energy that's putting into it is like bouncing back into my body. That's how I know that they're done. And it varies with different stones because of material, also how many I'm holding, how well I slept, how well I've been eating, how rested I feel, how grounded I feel, how clear I am, how the weather is, all these different variables. So there's not a particular, this always takes 20 minutes, that always takes an hour. It actually varies quite a lot. So I hold the stones and put the energy in until they're feeding off a frequency that's just as strong as what I'm putting in. That's why I know they're full. And it is true, by the way, for those of you who like details, that bigger stones will take more energy because they're more massive than smaller ones. And so this, with these two even, this sphere is just slightly larger, but it would take several minutes longer, maybe even 5 or 10 minutes longer to put the frequency into. So that is the hematite and kind of how I do this. And just saying, oh, it's through force of will, and I just put the energy in, that might not make sense to you or to your brain, but it's what I do. I don't know how to explain it better. Anyway, okay, so that is the hematite for pulling energy down, for slowing down, for relaxing the mind, for taking the power away from the linear logical mind, putting it into the body. One thing I want to say about that process, whether it's through tiger iron, because the tiger iron can do this to some degree as well in a certain way, whether it's through red jasper or the yellow jasper for second and third chakras respectively, or onyx, which is a lower chakra stone definitely, or shiva lingams, whatever your energy is pulled down out of your head and into your body, what is stored there must come up. So getting grounded leads always, the way I talk about it and teach it, always leads to unearthing, bumping, disturbing the status quo of old energies and emotions, traumas, old attitudes and beliefs, old defensive mechanisms that don't serve you, that are stored in your body and your energy field, getting stirred up, always. So as I worked with Tiger Iron for several years before doing anything with other crystals, and Jehudi, the Ascended Master channel, was tutoring me on, I didn't understand, my brain didn't understand why I had to spend so much time in the lower chakras. But in the root chakra, you're talking about family issues. I got the mom crap, the dad crap, the sister crap, the religion crap. I don't want to be the religion I was taught. Doesn't make sense to me. The society crap, the fear of being in a body crap, all that stuff's just in the root. Imagine, those second and third chakra issues, there are layers of them. And so to put attention, to be grounded, means putting attention on those life issues and investing in resolving and healing and clarifying different things. So when, it sounds great to take the emphasis away from your linear logical mind, but one of the reasons why it's doing its thing that induces anxiety, why it's planning and plotting and checking your email 40th time today, why it's doing that is it's trying to keep you from being aware of what's in your body, because there may be debris there that's uncomfortable. There may be residues of traumas from this life or other lifetime, or just chronic stress you don't know how to deal with, or pain, regret, guilt, shame that you're not quite sure how to deal with. So of course, that's when we go up in our minds. So I just want you to understand that this potentially can open a door into dealing with quite a lot of things that your brain thinks you can't deal with, because the brain has no idea how to deal with pain other than judging you or somebody else, assigning blame, regret, defense mechanisms, guilt, shame, all that business. So that's the hematite deal. Moving on to the Larimar, this is a very different way of looking at the Taurus energy. So, and these are both equally valid, but I want to just give you these two different teachings, these two different options for understanding a way of living with Taurus and navigating the energy of the solar month of Taurus. So Larimar is a blue. This is one example that's partially polished. It's actually partially tumbled, and I haven't finished it off because I just really like the texture. But Larimar is blue. If I turn it toward the light, it gets washed out. So there we go. There you can see the blue. That's the best part of this one, because there's like some kind of rocky inclusions here. But Larimar is from the Dominican Republic. Yeah, it's just so gorgeous. And I'll show you two other polished pieces in a minute. Larimar's Dominican Republic. It's a rock that's called pectolite, which is typically white, but in the Dominican Republic it shows up as blue. So it's for typically the fifth chakra is how I program it. And the fifth chakra in the throat, that's why I'm pointing at my throat. I guess you could see that I'm on video this time. The fifth chakra is where we take the personal power or self-esteem in the third chakra in the solar plexus, which is down here, and we align it with a higher principle. But what often happens is a belief that we have is installed as capital T truth, and we run with it as a guiding principle. So rejection fantasies, rejection scenarios, a judgment of self, fear of failure, persecution complexes, some belief that may be installed as if it's capital T true and throned as truth and worshipped. That's kind of how I've experienced when I've dethroned certain beliefs with Larimar. So you might have a belief that you don't realize is installed as the governor in your world. So this will help you tune into what is really true, or at least realize what is not true, so you can install something that actually is true. Like the example, I won't tell you the whole story. I've told it several times elsewhere, including the Larimar, Charging Larimar Diaries, or some Larimar MP3s on SoundCloud. Here are other examples of Larimar. These are highly polished. These are my two pocket pieces that I often use for channeling. You can see, yeah, that's kind of interesting there. And then this other one is kind of an amazing. These little iron inclusions are the little smudges, but otherwise this one's kind of an amazing specimen. And when I was going to buy the first set of slabs, or I had bought several little slabs, and then I was ready for bigger slabs like this. The ones I had bought were like a third this size. This is an expensive material for several reasons. Mostly because the Dominican Republic government learned the lessons from colonialism, and they have controls in place to protect their people and their interest and to benefit them economically from this material being mined by foreigners on their soil. So there are controls in place, such as the only people who can actually bring it out of the earth, who can be employed to mine it, are locals, people who live there. Same way with cutting it in the country on site for these people who are buying these, thousands of pounds and shipping them in different parts of the world. And when you sign, like I have one bracelet on my website, Larimar bracelet with little beads, but it's a, of course it's a bracelet. You know what a bracelet is. Geez, I don't know what's happening with my brain right now. It's because I'm holding these and I'm not used to it. Go back to my Moldavites. So all those beads were made in the DR by people there who are employed to do it, and then they sell them to the miners and vendors. So anyway, so they've learned a lot from that. That's one of the reasons why it's more expensive. And also it's been touted as a miracle stone and all this stuff. Oh, it's the Atlantis stone that Edgar Cayce predicted would be found, and blah, blah, blah. So there's kind of like the, a little bit of marketing hype around it too. But when I was done with these little teeny pieces, and these are actually from, these larger ones are from that first set that I purchased, I went to the vendor's house, and he laid out a bunch of them, and I was going through these bins and picking out rough little slabs, and I had this kind of beginning of anxiety because of how much it would cost. And he totaled them up and told me how much it would be, and I was really shocked, and I had a certain number in mind, and I was like, okay, I know that this is about overcoming beliefs that don't serve me, so what's the belief about money here? And I realized I didn't believe that I would get that money back through selling the Larimar. Like, I would be investing hundreds of dollars, and I mean, since then I bought things for a lot more than this, in large quantities, but this was just several years ago, and it was just a stepping stone moment. But I believed I wouldn't get the money back. Well, I was like, well, okay, well, let me see, why do I believe that? And it was a self-worth issue, which we'd think of as a third chakra issue. But this was installed as a belief, as if it's capital T true, because of past relationship issues from like 15 years ago, 14 years ago. And it's just one particular relationship, and it never really got off the ground, but I really wanted it to. And I took that missed connection as contributing to my self-esteem, because I really felt that it was a good relationship to have, and it just couldn't happen. So my thing about money now was sourced in a relationship issue from over a decade prior, and I was like, okay, that's not true. I do this. What I decided to surrender to is that Larimar actually helps people, and I can do something special with it to make it even more helpful. And I'm choosing to align with the truth, install the belief that this is a good thing and it's worth the investment. And of course it was. Of course it is. I moved that whole set. I've moved a couple of sets since then. So so I keep investing in it, and then people keep buying it. So I upgraded what that belief was. I replaced it. Now, how this fits with the Taurus thing is, extraneous things must go. What that leads to is things that are not true must not be entertained. So it's a different angle on kind of Taurus energy of, if I need to focus on details to ensure survival, then let me get rid of the crappy beliefs that keep me from blocking myself from the right details, or constellating, or gathering the right tools to myself. And on that note about money, my particular belief in that fifth chakra at that time was relating to money and relationships. Well, Taurus is about money, but Taurus is really about values and what you find important. So I'm going to offer you that during the solar month of Taurus, you may find out that something you consider valuable doesn't serve you, because you've kind of attached your willingness to believe something that's not true. Like, you've invested in that. So I would offer you that this idea of changing what you're invested in and changing in what you find valuable, the Larimar can help you with that. I am planning to do a thing, I don't know what it's called yet, but I am planning to do a channel meditation via Facebook Live in a few weeks on money issues related to Taurus. And so you can stay tuned for that. My Facebook work page is, I think a lot of people find me on Facebook and send me a friend request, but they should be following my work page because I don't even use, I don't use it. So anyway, Evolutionary Astrology and Channeling with Tom Jacobs is my work page. And that's where I post everything about, you know, work. So anyway, you can follow that there. So that is my little story for you. And you can stay tuned to my blog too. I'll be doing a few little posts throughout the month and on that Facebook thing. So just to recap, the hematite is a grounding, that's what this is, the grounding stone to help you focus, get out of the mind and the confusion of the fears that the mind may be attached to and identified with. So to focus on what is really important and to be more embodied so you can focus on essentials and live according to your values and let your body tell you this works for me, that doesn't work for me. You have to be in your body. Otherwise your mind will circle and cycle through hoops and jumping through hoops, and yeah, it's not as productive. And then the Larimar for discerning what's really true so you can focus on the essentials and you can get over beliefs that don't serve you and be organized and have your foundation clear and organized and focused. So thanks for your time and energy. That is it for this video. Check out tdjacobs.com for all the program crystals I offer, as well as a ton of other things that will help you along your journey. Bye-bye.